Owen Jones admitted the Labour Party have a difficult balancing act in trying to deal with Brexit. At the Labour Party conference in Liverpool this week, Shadow Brexit Secretary Sir Keir Starmer claimed the party would vote down any deal that did not meet its 6 tests. Sir Keir also said, nobody is ruling out Remain as an option, should there be another referendum on Britain's relationship with the EU, despite many Labour supporters voting to leave the EU in the referendum. Speaking on BBC Radio Scotland, The Guardian columnist Jones explained the danger the Labour Party has over Brexit. He said, effectively, Labour has just restated its policy, which was to never rule out a second referendum, but have the preference of a general election. Yes, you are absolutely right, I call it the Hackney and Hull problem. Both Hackney and Hull are Labour heartlands. Hackney voted 80% to remain. Hull voted 70% for leave. The big danger that Labour always had in terms of its electoral coalition, is that it is uniquely polarised in terms of it has people that think Brexit is the worst thing that has ever happened, and it also has people who think Brexit is somehow getting their country back. It has to find a way of stitching a coalition because the only 6 seats the Labour lost at the last general election was very heavily pro-leave seats, like Mansfield, for example, and Middlesbrough South, but also other seats, which voted leave, like Ashfield, represented by Gloria De Piro, went from being a safe Labour seat to a marginal Labour seat. You are absolutely right, I call it the Hackney and Hull problem. Owen Jones, that is why it tortures the Labour leadership that they have to take into account that a large majority of their members are pro-Remain, about 3/4 of their voters voted for Remain, but if they lose their Leave voters in the Midlands, the East Midlands in particular and the North East, then they will be unable to form a government, which is why they have tried, if you like, to have a position which tries to reconcile Leave and Remain voters, also because the older voters they need to win over, because they are fringe party amongst pensioners, which is why they didn't win the last election. Those voters they need to win over also voted Leave. That is why it is a very difficult balancing act for Labour. Speaking at the conference, Labour Party member David Mullen ripped apart calls for a second Brexit vote during a passionate speech. He said, I am against having a people's vote on the basis that in my constituency we voted overwhelmingly to leave, and my worry is, if we go against the people's will, we'll lose those voters. I implore you all, come to Blyth Valley, go to Cowpen Ward, tell them why you want us to remain, and go to Kitty Brewster, where for too long they've felt marginalised, like they have not had their voices heard. I personally would have voted Remain at the time, but now I'm against it, because I believe the European Union to be a capitalist club that is for the few, not the many. Brexit news. Owen Jones warned about Labour's big Brexit problem. Image, C4NEWS Getty. Labour frontbenchers have said they would like a general election over the prospect of a second Brexit vote. Addressing the conference on Wednesday, Jeremy Corbyn insisted Labour would not overturn Brexit but questioned the conduct of the May government during the negotiations with Brussels. Mr. Corbyn said, Labour respects the decision of the British people in the referendum, but no one can respect the conduct of the government since that vote took place. As it stands, Labour will vote against the Chequers plan or whatever is left of it and oppose leaving the EU with no deal. And it is inconceivable that we should crash out of Europe with no deal. That would be a national disaster. That is why if Parliament votes down a Tory deal or the government fails to reach any deal at all, we would press for a general election. Failing that, all options are on the table. Brexit is about the future of our country and our vital interests.